Previously on Smitty TV.
Like my best friend.
You're my best friend. He's 19 years older than me, and so we never had any intentions in the beginning, for it to really turn out to be what it is now. September 2010 was when we actually decided.
It was official.
Not too long after that, that's when Jerome decided to stop volunteer coaching. He didn't get the opportunity to coach anymore. He kind of was upset about that, but he knew that it was what had to be done.
This time on Smitty TV.
My junior year, that's when we had been together so much and I was at his house so much that I ended up kind of actually moving in. It was kind of, at first he was like, oh, so when you gonna move in? And I was like, I'm not moving in with you. During my junior year, that's also when we kind of started keeping to ourselves. We kept to ourselves a lot that year just to kind of work on our relationship without any extra input. We didn't need it. We had my parents, we had his parents, and a few friends that were very supportive and family members that were very supportive, and so we didn't need any extra. It was in February 2012. That's when Jerome's mom got sick again, and so, we still had no concern for anybody else. We were really concerned about his mom.
She went to work, didn't feel right because she had a migraine, checked herself into the hospital, and there they found out more things, and then she had another seizure. And this wasn't as bad as the very first one, but it was still up there, and it still kept her in the hospital for a while. And this is like mid-February, close to like the third week of February. She started getting better, and she was able to come home actually on my birthday.
Which was really good.
Yeah, I was like really, really happy. Because I was like, I wanted my mom out the hospital, I wanted her back home. She wanted to be back home, and she was able to come home on her own. I got her medicine and all that good stuff, and got her something to eat, and she got in the bed and she was good. And I went to go bowl. When I came back, checked on her, she's still good. Everything's fine. But the next morning, between the time that I checked on her when I got home from bowling and about 7 or 8 o'clock the next morning, she had another seizure that was really, really bad. I called 911 to get help. They rushed her to the hospital. Later on, I found out that through all their studies, she was 90% brain dead.
And he had sat by her bedside nonstop. I was in school, of course, and so I would go to class and I would come back and come to the hospital and see about him, make sure he was actually eating and taking care of himself. We had a tournament coming up, and at first I was like, I'm not going to the tournament. I don't want to do it. But we only had 5 people, and the minimum amount of people is 5. And so he kept telling me, you have to go, you need to go for your team, he'll be okay, and all this stuff. But I still wanted to be there for him.
And I know it. In her heart, I know her heart is still with me. I was okay with that. But I wanted her to go. I wanted her to, be there for a team, bowl her behind off, and kick some butt.
Anyway, we had the tournament, and the whole time I'm calling him, checking on him. He's got family coming in, so that's good because he's not by himself, because he doesn't have a lot of family around here that he sees a lot. He still had a lot on his plate to handle, and I still wanted to be there for him. But we bowled, and that Sunday we were finishing up bowling, and we were on our way back. But I was calling him on the way, I guess, to dinner or to lunch on the way back home, to check on him and to let him know how we did, because he was still concerned about how we did, even though his mom was in the hospital. Let him know how we did, and he let me know that his mom had actually passed that morning.
She passed away Sunday morning, March 4th. From that point on, everything started changing.
During that time, we grew closer, knowing that I had to be there for him, and it was rough for him. His mom didn't have any other children.
I like to thank them again, each and every person that knew my mother, for all the help and love and everything they did. They have no idea how blessed I felt having them around.
Mid-March was when we actually got an apartment together, and we moved into an apartment, and we now had 2 dogs in an apartment, because he had just bought his mom a dog, and he had just bought me a dog, and we had to make a decision on which dog to keep, because we couldn't keep 2 dogs.
Yeah.
So we kept his mom's dog. In June, we actually went to Vegas.
Yes.
He loves Vegas. We went to Vegas in June.
Love it.
And he showed me around Vegas. We had a good time.
So we went sightseeing. Plus, I wanted to show her Vegas, because Vegas is great.
So he showed me around Vegas. We had a really good time in Vegas. We came back from Vegas. We're still, at this time, we're still keeping to ourselves, still developing our relationship. But we knew that this was the relationship that we both wanted to be in. This is what we were both looking for. And little did I know, but I would find out soon, that in his mind, he was ready to get married. We had already talked about it. It's not like, it wasn't one of those, like, he's ready and I wasn't type things. He had already discussed with me, like, he was like, well, you're still young. I don't want you to feel like, we were on the same page. But in October, that's when we actually started house hunting. We were tired of our apartment. It was terrible. And
Summer sucked.
little did I know, the proposal was coming sooner than I thought. But we started house hunting in October. And, despite the fact that we knew we probably shouldn't be living together, and we weren't married yet and those things, it happens, and it did for us, and we're married now. In November, he proposed at Thanksgiving dinner at Grandma's house for us. I was actually doing his hair, and so I was just playing around in his hair.
I was already on one knee.
At Thanksgiving, he was already on one knee. And I finished his hair, and I was sitting beside, my sister was sitting in a chair beside us. And when I finished his hair, he was like, are you done? I'm like, yeah, I'm done. Are you sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. Why are you asking me this? And he turns around with the ring and proposed. It was already on one knee. So we finally closed on our house, and we moved into our house in January, and we love it. May 31st, 2013 was our wedding day. Then we didn't have a honeymoon immediately after, because we were going back to Vegas in June, and we got married in May. So in June, we went back to Vegas, and we had a really good time in Vegas once again. In December of that year, we decided that we wanted to start trying to have a family.
Yay.
Told my mom about it, and she ran through the house crying. She was so excited.
She did. I thought she was going to do a cartwheel.
Started trying in December, or actually in January of that next year, so 2014. And we tried for 11 months. We found out we were pregnant in...
Yeah. February.
Was it February?
It was February.
Okay, we found out we were pregnant in February.
A whole lot of things happened in February. I mean, my goodness.
We found out we were pregnant in February, and It was funny because I kind of got to the point where I was like, I'm tired of taking pregnancy tests. I'm getting aggravated every time when I find out I'm not pregnant, and
2, 3 at a time.
I'm not taking 2, 3 at a time. Stop lying. Anyway, so I'm getting tired every time every time I get a negative pregnancy test, I'm getting aggravated. But then in February, I was like, well, there was one day just randomly where I was like, oh my gosh, I just don't feel good. Well, my mom at that time was like, oh, she's pregnant. But I was so tired of taking pregnancy tests that I was like, I'm not taking a test. I'm not taking a test. I wasn't late yet, and so I was like, I'm not taking it. But my mom the whole time was like, oh, you're pregnant. You're pregnant. She was just like, there's no reason for you to be sick other than being pregnant. So I think it was that Thursday. I was late on that Thursday, and then that Friday morning, I think it was, I took the pregnancy test, and it was like 3 o'clock in the morning.
I'm asleep.
He is knocked out, but I'm up because I had to pee. And so I took the pregnancy test. Of course, it was positive. And I go in the room, and I'm like, okay, well, do I wait? I'm like, there's no way I can wait. So I try to wake him up, and I'm like, Jerome, wake up. And he's not budging. Yes. And I'm like, wake up. He's still not trying to wake up. So I keep trying to get him to wake up, and he won't. So I was just like, all right, I'm pregnant. And he's like, okay. And then a few minutes later, all of a sudden.
What?
Yes, exactly. So that night was when my parents normally do date nights on Fridays. And so we called them. We sometimes do date night with them. And so I called my mom and was like, hey, what are you guys doing for date night? And she was like, we don't know yet. And I was like, okay, well, how about we have dinner over at our house? And so she was like, that's fine. So we planned dinner, and we took this picture on our phones really quickly where it was my feet, his feet, and in between were some little baby shoes. And they had the year that we were born written in front of it on the sidewalk. And we sent them both a text message when we knew they had their phones nearby. We sent them both a picture message. We sent the picture to them. And they both, looked at the picture, and they look at us. They look at the picture, and then my mom, once again, goes screaming and running through the house and crying.
She doing laps. Laps.
She was so excited. My dad smiled from ear to ear. They were so excited. So this would actually be grandbaby number 7 for them. On September 17th, we had a doctor's appointment. And we had an ultrasound to check to see if she was positioned correctly and all that stuff, and check her weight. And they checked her weight, said she was going to be 7'15". She ended up being 7'14", so that was pretty accurate. But in the ultrasound, she was actually turned sideways.
Chilling. Feet up. Chilling. I ain't coming out, Mom. You gotta come get me.
So she was actually turned sideways, so they gave me a few different options. And I actually decided that it was probably best for me to go ahead and plan a C-section because I didn't want to do an emergency C-section. And so Jerome was all for whatever I decided. He just wanted to make sure that both of us were going to be safe, we're going to be healthy. Yeah. And so the C-section was what we decided to do. We went through a lot, but I think that made our relationship stronger. And now having this little one has changed our lives once again. And we're loving every minute of this too. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, click like and subscribe to our channel. Share it with your friends. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Later, family.
Later.
It was official.